Hi everybody, this is Carolina Millan here today, and we have another special guest on our podcast, Mr. Joseph McClendon III, Ultimate Performance Specialist or Ultra Performance?
That was right. Ultimate Performance Specialist.
Ultimate Performance Specialist. Hey Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing spectacular. And yourself?
I'm doing great as well, and thank you so much for taking the time today to be with me and this podcast. It means a lot to me, and I admire your work. Been following you for a few years, and I hope the people listening and watching get a ton of value today. I know they will.
Well, thank you so much, and I listen. You are helping me do what I call my life's purpose, which is to spread as much information and help as many people as possible. So thank you for your trust and allowing me to talk to your peeps.
Thank you. It means a lot to me too, that we can fulfill each other's missions. So just to get started, for the maybe there is one person that doesn't know you. For that one person listening or watching that doesn't know who you are, maybe share a little bit about you, your background, and what you do.
Well, I'll take that as flattery and a compliment, but I'm sure there's thousands of people who don't know who I am. Well, Caroline, by profession, I'm a psychologist. More specifically, I'm a neuropsychologist. I have a doctorate in neuropsychology, and I help people for many, many years. I had a small practice, or actually a pretty large practice in Los Angeles for many years. But I help people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges in a very short amount of time. And people always ask me, what's the difference between traditional psychology and neuropsychology? And the simplest answer that I can give is this. Traditional psychology, you work with the brain, our thoughts. And it's very effective. And what I do takes nothing away from it. I just add that to it. Neuropsychology, neuro is short for your nervous system, more specifically your five senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. So whereas traditional psychology, I have 1 point of entry, with neuropsychology, I got 5. So what it allows me to do is to assess how a certain person communicates with themselves, what makes them do what they do and why they do what they do, and enter their world on one of those 5 levels. Usually it's just visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, but enter their world where they are best influenced and impacted. And so I can get a quicker and deeper result. And so I love doing that. That's been my passion for many, many years. However, that's my profession, but by trade, as you mentioned at the top of the show, I'm a ultimate performance specialist. And all that means is through seminars and workshops, live interventions, one-on-one coaching and mentoring, I help people get the very best out of themselves and do what I call go further, faster.
Further, faster. How do you break through to people to get them to go further, faster?
That's a great question, and everybody's different. I do, as you know, that's how we got to know each other, is through a very large seminar. You said it was New Jersey, so that was about 10,000 people, maybe. If I'm not mistaken.
When I attended in 2015, it was less than 10,000. It was probably around 8,000, and not everybody fit in the room.
Yeah, our average now is between 10 and 15,000 people. So, wow. So either way, that's a large event. So to answer your question, is that there's a difference between impacting large groups of people versus one-on-one. So everything is a process, is a formula and a system. So there's influence models that I use to be able to move a crowd, but one-on-one, that's what I was kind of saying is I'm able to assess how that individual processes things, how they intake things, how they turn that input into behavior. And then I'm able to step in based on that information, step in and help alter their behavior, their thought process, their emotions, and then their behavior. So everybody's different, and everybody's the same. So crowds are a little bit different than one-on-one, but to answer your question, it's through assessment first, and then most of the time it's just questions. I can ask somebody certain questions and then watch how their body moves and watch how their eyes move and listen to their conversation and observe all of those things. And then I can enter their world in a way that's going to help move them faster.
I'm wondering what you are observing in me right now.
Well, here's the answer. You're an amazing woman, and you're ambitious. Well, it's not, I get that a lot. People wonder, am I analyzing them? And the answer is no. If you ask me to, I will, but I can't survive on this planet if I'm going around analyzing and judging people. So I don't do it. It's not even on the radar at all.
Yeah. That I think people who are in psychology in general get that a lot.
Yeah. It's just like a mechanic is not always going around and fixing everybody's cars.
No, you can't do it. And you couldn't live like that, I don't think. You've been doing this for a very long time. And I love, one of the things that inspires me the most about you is that energy that you have. And what is your source of energy? What keeps you going? Why do you keep doing what you're doing?
I'll give you my why first.
Yes.
Why I do what I do. You may or may not know this. I'm not sure if I shared this at UPW, but when I was 17 and a half years old, 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin. And they left me for dead. And very long story short, that broke my spirit and broke my will. And it left me feeling worthless. It left me feeling like I shouldn't even be around. And as a result, I became homeless. I had a great upbringing, great parents and all that stuff, but that didn't make any difference. When something like that happens, it affects us. In psychology, we call it significant emotional event, and that was pretty significant. Mm-hmm. And so what changed for me, Carolyn, was somebody gave me a book, somebody I didn't even know. It was a kind person, didn't even know me, saw that I was in a bad way, gave me a book to read, and the book was called Think and Grow Rich. And I always tell people, I read the book and I did what the book said. I didn't just read it. It had certain things to do. And I was so desperate that I did them. And as a result, my life changed. And when I went back to the gentleman that gave me the book to thank him, and I asked him, what do I do for you? How do I repay you? Because that's the way I was raised. What he said to me was, he goes, how you repay me is you do the same thing that I've done for you, for them, as many people as you possibly can for the rest of your life. Now, I was a teenager at the time, and I didn't take it as serious, but as I started to grow and life started to change, I realized that's my calling. So the reason I do what I do now at this stage in my life and my career is to give back because somebody did that to me, and to fulfill that promise that I gave. At the top of this podcast, we said, you asked me, I said, thank you for allowing me to fulfill my life's mission. And that's why I do what I do. So that's my reason why. My energy comes from, the saying I always, I say 2 things. I say a lot of stuff, but with regard to what to do is, physician, heal thyself. Meaning, and the other thing is, I don't teach theory, meaning I don't tell people things that I don't do or haven't done myself. And so I teach, as you know, health and wellness and energy and vitality as part of what I do. And so I follow a specific regime. It's not, like I'm a real strict person like that, but I follow a specific regime that gives me energy. I tell everybody, which is true, I sleep maybe 4.5 hours a night. I got lots of energy all the time, which, by the way, I just, what's today, the 13th? So 7 days ago, I had a birthday and I turned 65 years old.
Oh my God, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And I say that not to brag or to boast, but I have a great deal, most of my friends that are my age are tired and old and all that. And so the second piece of it is, first off, there's a regime that I follow. It's really simple, really, I'm not going to say easy, but it is simple, that gives me the physical energy. But then the other side of it is the mental and emotional energy comes from the practice of, programming myself and causing myself to default to be happy.
How do you because, I've seen you at a lot of events. I've been to every Tony event. I still have days, and I have all the tools, like, I have the tools. I've been to the seminars, everything, but I still have days where I can't default to be happy.
Yeah.
What is a strategy you can recommend to people who,
Well,
even when they're aware of it, they can't?
I wrote the book, right? No, I'm serious. Hang on. I literally wrote the book.
Oh, you wrote the book. Oh, wow.
Get happy now. So I'm gonna give you the short answer to that, because nobody is happy all the time, not even me. Stuff happens. It does.
Yeah.
But it's not what you know. It's what you do consistently that produces the default. So even something as simple as, I always tell people to shake that ass and to do things like that, but just to feel bad and then feel good, feel bad, feel good. You do that over and over again, the feeling bad will trigger you to feel good. But you got to do it with intensity. You got to do it over and over again, and do it as energetic as you do anything. If that was if you were going to make $1 million to do it 1,000 times a day for 5 days, at the end of 5 days, that will be more of your default. And I'll give you a perfect example. Nobody is happy all the time, not even me. And I'm the happiest guy I know. But I've got a default, and when I'm unhappy, it lasts a very short amount of time. And I'll give you a perfect example. I live in a place called Newport Beach in California, and I live in a 24-hour guard-gated community. There's a guard that's 100 yards away from my house. When I leave my house, I never worry about getting anything happening to my house or my possessions. And I'll make this story really short, but I collect rare and expensive bass guitars. That's just my thing. Don't judge me.
I love guitars.
And also, when I leave, just because of safety, I put everything that I value, my family photos, jewelry, my bass guitars, cash, stocks, everything that I have, I put it in a gun safe that was 600 pounds empty, that's bolted to the ground, concrete. And so when I leave, I don't worry about anything. Well, a year and a half ago, I was in Florida, and I get a phone call, very long story short, that somebody has broken into my house, torn my safe out of the ground, drug it across the floor, destroyed my house, and stole all my stuff. And it was devastating, Caroline, devastating for about 20 seconds. And then something came over me. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy that they stole my stuff, but something came over me, and I started to be okay. And I attribute that to, that's what became my default. And I attribute it to the work that I've done to take myself to, because if you practice being upset, frustrated, or whatever, and then turning and then getting happy, even though you fake it, you practice it over and over again, pretty soon it's just like anything that there's muscle memory, there's mental memory, and there's emotional memory. That becomes the norm. And very long story short, as a result of my having that default, without going into it, I was able to remember some things and tell the detectives a few things, and I didn't get all my stuff back, but I got some of it back. And so I say that because the answer to your question is, how do you do it? Is you got to practice it. And the practice is really, really simple. I didn't say it was easy, but it's simple. And it's called, if anybody's writing things down, which I encourage you to do, write this down. Here's the formula. If you want to change your response time from being unresourceful, upset, angry, frustrated, sad, whatever, if you want to change your response time from being unresourceful to resourceful, to shorten that amount of time, it is this. I'll tell you first and I'll explain it. Feel bad, interrupt your pattern, feel good, celebrate. It's only 4 steps. I like to make things really simple. What that means is, again, feel bad deliberately. Don't wait until you feel bad to try and snap out of it. It's harder then.
Okay.
Even when you're feeling good, cause yourself to think about something that feels bad. And as soon as you get any inkling of it, just a little bit of it, You got to do what we call interrupt your pattern. You can stand up, shake yourself out, shake your ass, whatever, put a smile on your face, and then however you do it, think about something that feels good. Anything, your puppy, the person you love, roller skating, whatever it is in that moment. And then pat yourself on the back or celebrate and go, yes, I did it. Now here's why. And I know it sounds silly, but remember what I said. If you do this over and over again, as simple as this is, your nervous system, your muscle memory, and your emotional system has no other choice but to default to that and diminish that time. So the trick is to, like I use my cell phone all the time, Caroline. I always tell people to, I have Siri, and I'll just tell her, remind me to do my exercise in an hour. And so when an hour goes by, I'll do 10 things. I'll feel bad. I'll shake myself out of it. I'll go, yes. I'll think of something great. And then I'll pat myself on the back. And then I'll try and feel bad again. Now, the trick is not to feel really, really bad. It's only for a couple seconds. Not even that, like 1 second. As soon as you start to feel bad at all, snap yourself out of it. And how you snap yourself out of it without going, interrupt your pattern, is just move your body. Take a deep breath. Kind of thing. You do that over and over again, and pretty soon what will happen is the very thing that makes you feel bad, and it could be anything, is the very thing that starts to trigger you to feel good. There's two different types of people. There's pessimistic people and there's optimistic people. And there's variations in between, but the demarcation line is good and bad. And so what you want to try and do, pessimistic people, what they do is they look at the worst possible scenario. It's raining, they go, my day is ruined, it's that kind of thing. Optimistic people, they look at the best possible. It's raining, that means I don't have to water my yard. It's going to be clean air, okay? What you want to do is, it's the same thing. Pessimism, snap yourself out of it, look for what's great. Pessimism, snap yourself out of it, look for what's really great. Lastly, I'll say this. Don't wait to feel bad to do this. Cause yourself to do it. It's like I always say to people, I don't have that kind of practice anymore, but if you come into my office and you have a fear of dogs, guess what's going to be in my office?
A dog.
There's going to be a dog, because I want you to be afraid so I can snap you out of it so we can change it. So long answer, but the reality is feel bad, interrupt your pattern, feel good, celebrate. And it turns into a cycle. Pretty soon you're a badass.
See, I never heard it from that perspective, because we're always avoiding feeling bad.
Yeah, that's traditional therapy. That's traditional. And why wouldn't you? Your nervous system is designed to not feel bad.
I hope you guys wrote that down, because that is it's simple, like you said, maybe not easy, but simple. Anyone can follow that. And after a while of doing it consistently, it should work out. So here's another thing that I'm always curious about is how do you make it so contagious as well for people? Because for me, I mean, I could be having the worst day, but I see you on stage, or or I see your smile, or and immediately in my head I hear you saying you freaking rock and shake that ass, and it's so contagious. Like how do you do that? What's your secret?
Well, I actually teach people to do that. I have something that I call Presentation Academy, where I teach people to present, not just be a speaker. And the short answer to a long 3-day answer is there is a process involving influence models, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, how to move, how to set the audience up to receive that. Remember, I'm a psychologist, so there are certain things that, and again, entering people's world in a specific way to access the best in them. And it's from the time I always say to people, from the time that I walk on stage, every single thing that I do, everything has a reason and a purpose. It's not just I'm up there teaching, because I'm not saying anybody, but most people can do that. Everybody can teach things, but we've all been in a classroom where we were bored to death, or we've all been sitting in an audience where we're listening to a speaker where you're just going, take my life now, and And the reason is because that person is not impacting you on a level that you need to be impacted. And so when you have a crowd of people, you got 1,000 different people or 10,000 different people, but all of them function in a handful of different ways. Literally a handful, 5 different ways. Mm-hmm. Some of them are emotional people. And by the way, a combination of all. Some of them have to see something before they're impacted. Some of them have to hear something. Some of them, believe it or not, have to smell something, and some of them have to taste something. And so if I know that there's a group of people out there and I can't work with everybody individually, then what I do is I cover all 5 of those bases. Wow. And impact them in a way that they feel comfortable, they trust me. And obviously I'm not going to do anything that's going to that is going to break that trust. I'm going to help them. That's what I'm there for. But again, that's part of what the academy is about, is to teach people those skills so that they can do that as well. Some people have it naturally. I didn't, quite honestly. I had to learn it. And then, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I make it look easy because I do it all the time and I've done it for a long time. But there's a system, there's a process.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not arrogant at all. What else, like you mentioned that you sleep like 4.5 hours a day and you have all this energy. What else, and you have your regime, and what other routines are a part of your day, whether you're on the road or at home, that help you stay positive and energetic and productive?
Well, there's 6 major things, and I'll go through them very, very quickly. And they are the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, the thoughts you think, the moves you make, and the words you speak. Air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat, thoughts we think, moves we make, words we speak. I went through those very, very quickly, but in each of those areas, I've adjusted my behavior. In other words, I breathe a certain way, as silly as it sounds, but because I breathe a certain way, I get more oxygen than most people. And because I get more oxygen than most people, my brain is clearer and my body is functioning different. I drink a certain amount of water every day. I say to people, I have ionized water at my house, but when I'm on the road, I don't, but I get filtered water, I get good water, and I drink at least a glass of water every 2 hours. I use my phone to remind me to do so because sometimes I get going. And so just that alone, those 2 things alone, gives most people 20% more energy. Learning how to breathe, drinking more water. Air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat. I have certain foods I don't eat and certain foods I do. For me, I don't eat red meat or dairy. I don't drink alcohol. I don't, obviously don't smoke cigarettes and things like that. Those are for me. I don't, I'm not a vegetarian. I do fish. I do some poultry. But I eat organic food as much as I can. I eat mostly fruits and vegetables. I have a greenhouse in my backyard that I grow my own vegetables. And but when I'm on the road, I don't deviate from that. I don't get me wrong, every once in a while I'll have a little piece of chocolate or something like that, so I don't deprive myself, but I don't eat a lot of sugar. So the food that I put into my body makes a difference. So the air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat, thoughts we think. I just talked to you about that. I program myself to look for what's great, to be happy, think of I'm more optimistic than pessimistic. And by the way, just that training yourself to be more optimistic, even if people say, well, I'm a sarcastic, pessimistic person. Yeah, well, so was I when I was younger, but I changed it. You don't have to, nobody's stuck with anything. So just that practice of being optimistic, it opens your brain, your entire nervous system and your neuroassociations in your brain physically start to change, and you look at everything and think of everything differently. And the moves we make, I do move a lot when I'm on stage, or I have a gym here in my home. I got this silly little puppy. I take him for a walk every day. I do something to exercise. I play music. I'm always moving my body. I'm always smiling. And if I say to anybody, if you don't have a gym, if you don't, you can walk places, but smile a lot. Literally, when you smile a lot, it's a move that you make. It squeezes your brain and makes endorphins and dopamines and all the chemicals that make you feel good flood your nervous system, flood your bloodstream, make you feel good. And the last thing are the words you speak. Literally, I have incantations and mantras and things like that. Say, I taught it to you guys. I freaking rock. You say that enough time, you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all of those things, all of those 6 things are the foundation of energy for me. It's not just one thing.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing, because I think it's going to be super useful for a lot of people. I actually have a reminder on my phone that says I freaking rock every day.
You know what? You can visit me on Instagram, and I have screensavers that I put on there with things like that. Just go to I am Joseph McClendon on Instagram, and it's free. And then also something else that I put up there for free is, and it's a perfect time of year to talk about it. I'm giving everybody, for anybody that wants it, something that I call the New Year's Evolution, which is a process to make your New Year's resolutions be real, because 85 and more % of the New Year's resolutions that people make on New Year's are the same ones they made last year. They didn't do it. And the worst part about it is that when they make them, they're half the time they're at a New Year's Eve party and they're drunk and they're, they don't know. So I start it now. That's the thing, start early. So, and there's a process in there that I've been using, 25 years now, that's really, really effective. So if you go to Instagram, it'll be up probably within the next couple of days. And again, I like to give stuff away so people have it and use it. Be my guest.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'll definitely be listing your Instagram, your website in the description of the episode so that people can follow you.
Okay.
How do you embrace social media? Because we were talking about that before we started the interview. How are you embracing it nowadays? What do you think about it? Are you loving it? Are you not loving it so much? And, how do you feel about it?
I am loving it now, but I have to be honest with you. I was afraid of it.
Ooh.
And not the traditional sense of being afraid. I was afraid of it because I didn't know. I've got a very busy lifestyle. And so I don't use social network as entertainment or to utilize to take up my time or to spend time. And I just never have. I shared this with you before.
Yes.
I had an Instagram account. I have a Facebook account. I got Twitter. I got all that stuff. But I never go there because it's like I go there and then people ask me questions and things, and it's like another email account. It's like another job.
True.
So because of that, I shied away from it. But just recently, I started being coached by somebody that you had on your Instagram. On your podcast, Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's advised me and helped me get over my fear, if you will. I call it a fear, but it's really just, I didn't know, but now I'm having a ball and I love it because now it's another way to help me fulfill my mission. I'm just amazed and honored that so many people care. I go on there, I'll post a picture of my dog and people go, what's his name? And people, and for me, I like to give something. My thing, Caroline, is I don't want to just like on this podcast here, I don't want to just give good advice or quotes. I think they're all great. I even have a quote book of my own. But a quote without the mechanism or the strategy to do what that quote promotes is just good advice. If it's a quote that says, be strong, stand up to your fears, how do you do it? It's good advice, but how do you do it? So what I bring to the table is the how to do it. And so now I like to give little tips. And just like I said with the New Year's evolution, everybody can say, I saw a quote the other day, New Year's is coming up. Make sure you got your New Year's evolution ready and make sure you follow through. How do you follow through? So that's why I did that. So, for me, social network has become a new fun and almost favorite thing to do, to the point that I caught myself doing what I used to laugh at other people about before. It's like every time I see my phone, I'm anchored to it. I go, ooh, let me check my Instagram. Let me see how I'm doing there, or what did I learn here, that kind of thing. And I find myself being drawn to it. So I'm having fun with it now, and I love it. And as you were saying to me before, it is the platform for being able to reach more and more people and being able to do that. So.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I'm loving your shoe collection that you're sharing.
And they're so funny. I joke around about it, and it was I put it as a joke, but it was amazing. People were commenting back about how they have that disease as well. And my disease is, I travel a lot, as you know, and so, like for example, when I was in New Jersey day before yesterday, I'm there for 5 days. The first day I get there, I'm sort of free to walk around and people don't know me, and I'm fine. But once day number 1 starts, I can't walk around without a bunch, and I know this sounds arrogant, but a bunch of people wanting selfies and wanting to stop and talk and things like that. And they should be in the room, not talking to me. They should be in the seminar. And so I spend my time in my room. And oftentimes I'm studying and I'm prepping for the days that I'm going to be doing. But when I'm in my room, I don't watch a lot of television. So it's the equivalent of drunk texting. I don't drink, but I shop on Amazon. And I set it up to when I come home, there's packages on my doorstep. It's like Christmas. And so what I've been doing recently is I shop for, and social network like Facebook, they're tricky. If I buy something, then they send me advertisements for similar things.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought some shoes. I like shoes. I bought a pair of shoes, and they keep sending me other ones. So I've been displaying my shoe collection on online. I'm going to turn myself into Amazon rehabilitation.
I mean the last ones you posted, I'm looking at them, and it's they're really cool. Like, they're so you. So
yeah. I need to stop. My shoe closet is full.
No, I totally get it. I just want to say you're doing a great job with Instagram. I love it that it's super authentic, and I think a lot of leaders could follow what you're doing. That they outsource the whole thing, but they could show up every once in a while, so that people know that it's them. So you're doing great. I love it. Another question I had for you, and this is somebody from my audience that I asked casually yesterday. Hey guys, I'm interviewing Joseph McClendon III. Do you have any questions? And somebody said that at some event, I don't know where, you mentioned that your son was going to be a successful YouTuber, and you were going to retire when he did that. So can you share more about that?
Well, it's wishful thinking to a certain extent, and I'm encouraging him as much as possible to do that. He just started making videos. He has his YouTube channel and all these things. And, other platforms that, like, he just started doing one the other day that it's brilliant. I forget what the name of the app is, but you can make a video and you can use any song in the world on it as long as you're only using like 10 seconds of it.
I think it's TikTok or something.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. And it's amazing. So he's doing that. But where that came from was trying to be a responsible parent. Last year, my son, I don't want to deny him playing video games, but I also don't want him to just do that. So I give him like a certain amount of time, and let's just say he has an hour to play video games before he's got to go do something else. So one day, I go down into the theater room, and he plays this video. We have a big, like 100-inch screen, and he plays his video games on that. And I go down, and it's his hour to play video games, but he's watching YouTube. And he's watching somebody play video games on YouTube. And I'm trying to be a responsible parent, and I go, dude, you only have an hour, get in the game. Why watch somebody else? And he looks at me like I'm just the dumbest thing on the planet. And he goes, and that's how we learn how to play the games, Dad. And so I thought, okay, I got it. And then I asked him the question that, people ask kids all the time. I go, well, have you thought any more about what you want to do when you grow up? And he goes, yeah. And I go, really? What? And he goes, I want to be a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. And I thought for a second, I remember thinking in the moment, like, I got to get him off of that. And then but I didn't do that. I never will crush his dreams or anybody's dreams, because there's things I might not understand. And I said to him, well, what about the guy that owns YouTube? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, the guy that owns YouTube gets to do anything he wants, and he makes all the money from all the YouTubers. And he goes, well, but can you go to school for that? And I go, yeah, that's called being a businessman. And you can go to business school. And he goes, okay, well, that's what I want to do. And I think, okay, I'm just a great parent. And then he goes, as I'm going back upstairs, he goes, but I still want to be a YouTuber. And I go, you can be a YouTuber, but, and now I'm feeling really good. Well, about 2 weeks later, I was leaving Singapore. I was coming home, and on the flight, they give you magazines to read on the way back. And so she's going down the aisle, and it's like Newsweek or Time magazine, one of the editorial magazines. And on the cover, it said, multimillionaires before 25 years old. I thought, well, that's interesting. And I grabbed it. And about halfway home, I open it up and I look at it. And the issue is about all these young people who have achieved multimillionaire status. And I open it up, and the guy that my son was watching made $11 million.
Wow.
Being a YouTuber. So when I got home, I go, dude, let's get you a YouTube channel. And he's moving along on it. Time will tell whether he does it or not. But definitely, it's just like you were talking to me earlier before the call about social network. That whole thing is something that it's just a new way of going about life, and a new way of generating income and social interaction.
Mm-hmm. And if you ask Gary Vee, he will tell you that that's the aspiration of most kids today. They all want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I asked Gary about this. I go, look, my son plays video games, talks to his friend on a headset, and watches YouTube all at the same time. And he goes, yeah. He goes, let him do it. He goes, because they've developed a skill set that you don't have. Because I don't. I mean, you and me talking right now, I can do just this, and that's it. My son can talk to his friend, play a video game, do this, and play with his dog all at the same time. And that's the skill that kids have nowadays.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I hope that if you ever retire, there will be somebody who will be there to replace you. It won't be your son, though.
Yeah, don't hold your breath on that, because he's literally got no desire to do what I do. None. But he's young,
How old is he?
He'll be 12 in January, so
he's young. We'll see. So what are your plans for the near future? Where do you see yourself going, and what would you like to do more of?
Well, not surprisingly, I have a 10-year plan, and I'll never retire.
Love it.
I think
Please don't.
Keeps you young that way. However, I have a pretty rigorous schedule right now, and I have roughly 8 years of doing it the pace that I'm doing right now, and that comes because when my son goes to college, he's out of my house. He can go to school, he can get a job, he can do whatever, but he's got to get out of here. And then I'm going to do something different. I'm going to, my goal is, what I do over the next 3 to 5 years is to do more of my own events, because I do a lot of other people's events now, but I have a couple workshops that I just adore, that I just love, that help people get some great results. And so to do more of those, that coming up in this year, I've started to gear myself up for that. And I keep saying this, that I'm not going to write any more books, but I just finished another book called Awesome Sauce. And so,
nice.
I probably got another 2 books in me, but the next big thing for me is, and I started it was my New Year's resolution last year. And that is, and I wanted to do this because when I first started, I started working with individuals. Then I started to work with small groups, and then larger groups. And now, like I said, on average, I'm in front of at least 5,000 people every month, sometimes as much as 15. And so I want to impact more people. with what I do. I've got some very specific strategies, plans of how to do people help people go further faster. And so the next step for me is more television. And so that was my New Year's resolution last year, evolution last year. And it was right on time. As a matter of fact, I was about 3 weeks early in getting that goal, was that I wanted to secure a regular spot on television. And so I was just recently offered, it's been 3 months ago now, a regular spot on Channel 5 News in San Diego.
Nice.
So, and the reason I'm doing that, it's just a short spot. It's only like 15 minutes each time, which is a long time on TV. That's another skill. It's a different skill than being on stage, and I'm learning it. I just did a show called The Doctors here in California, and so to do more of that, I'm not sure if I want my own show, but I do want to do more of that because I can reach more people that way.
Nice. That is awesome. That is great. I wish I could watch it over here, but I'm sure I'll find it on YouTube at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sorry?
Everything's on YouTube.
No plans for you to start your own YouTube?
Oh, I have one. I have, yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes. As a matter of fact, yes. Part of what I try to do things, I try not to reinvent the wheel. That's why I talk to people like Gary and coach me and things. And so I just set up, I'll be doing a kind of like what we're doing here, will be my version of a podcast, Caroline. But instead of interviewing people, which I will do some, it's going to be more, I call it further, faster, in helping people with taking their lives further, faster. And so, so that will be a regular podcast, but also a vlog so people can see it. And that's what I'm putting on my YouTube channel. I got a bunch of videos on YouTube already.
Awesome. All right. I'll be sure to put that in the description so people can catch up with that. So you've been working with Tony Robbins for a very long time. I'm just curious, what's it like to work so closely with Tony? And does he also push you to keep improving yourself and keep your energy up there?
What it's like working with him. Tony is the smartest guy I know. He really is. He's not just, book smart, obviously, and not just street smart. He's what I call intuitively smart as well, meaning stuff comes through him. He'd be the first to tell you that, he says, I don't always know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. I rely on what comes through me. And he's just a remarkable human being. I've known him for 30 years now. And I am honored that he trusts me with his people because he's worked really hard to build himself up. And I represent him as my friend and as the genius that he is. And so to work with him is doing just that, work with him and not for him, because I know I can compliment in him and help him bring the mission that he wants out. And then through that, I get to do that as well. So it's interesting. It is, like I said, I make it look easy, but that's the hardest work I do. It is. I literally, at the end of that event, the UPW, I leave everything on the stage. And he has built an unbelievable organization. He's built an unbelievable brand and unbelievable presence. And he's my dear friend. He's my son's godfather. And although we don't get to see each other much these days because we're both very, very busy, we're really close. And I just love him dearly.
I love both of you. You guys are just an amazing team. I was so crushed when I went to Business Mastery and you were not there. There was another guy.
Yeah. Well, Scott's awesome. And,
no, he's good too.
Yeah, I have, my own events that I do. And so sometimes I can't do those others. I'm going to probably start doing more of those as time goes on. But most of the time it's just a scheduling thing.
Yeah, I know. I was happy though to see you at Date with Destiny though. That was great. I love the wheel.
Yeah. Well, were you in Australia?
Australia in
Yes.
2016.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It was so small. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was incredible. Last question. How do you help people, or how people listening, watching, how can they create more abundance in their lives and more achievement? I know you have a formula, the 60,
Yeah.
20, 20. What's that about, and how can people implement it?
Yeah. I I'm going to give you the short answer, and again, it's a derivative of what I teach. I have a program called the A factor, the attraction factor,
Awesome.
and that is this: that abundance is whatever that individual determines it to be. Abundance could be more health, could be more wealth, could be a better relationship, could be all this, but functioning in that place where it's flowing to you. And not to make it sound too much like the laws of attraction and The Secret, because all that stuff is very valuable and it's valid stuff. But what I prefer and what works to help people go faster is science. And I don't mean to make that to sound sterile. It just is. There's a reason why a car's engine runs the way that it is because it's mechanical. And there's science behind it, internal combustion. There's a reason why our bodies function the way that we are. And there's a reason why some people do better than others. And there's a reason why, because we all know those people that the ball seems to bounce in their favor better, and they're lucky and they're happier and all those things. And I submit to you and to everybody else that just like everything else, there's a system to doing that. And so that's what the A factor is that system. But I'll give you the fundamentals of it. And as you said, it's something that I call the 60-20-20 rule. And if you're listening to this, write it down because it's going to be valuable to you. And that is this. We've all heard this before, and it's true. Accomplishing and achieving is something called the 80-20 rule. And that means that it's 80% psychology. If you think you can, then you probably can. If you think you can't, then this deck is stacked against you. And that's, again, as I talked about before, pessimism and optimism, right? If you're optimistic about it, the little engine that could, and all that stuff that we've learned that defies the odds. It's 80% thinking you can, and psychology, and how you feel about yourself, and all those things. And 20% mechanics, meaning doing something about it. But science has it, and by the way, I taught at the University of Southern California for 7 years, and I taught to engineers and to managers, so I had to be on point and be able to prove everything that I do, because these guys would not let anything go by. So it taught me that skill of being able to do that. So what I believe, and it's been my research, and it's what I teach, and it's how I help people go further faster, is I still believe that the biggest portion of achievement in anything is still psychology, but it's only 60%. And psychology, just so you know, is the constant conscious and unconscious thoughts that we think all the time. Our psychology about how we feel about ourselves, what we think about ourselves, we don't consciously think about it all the time, but it's buried inside of us and it makes us run. So that psychology, let's just say that it's 20%, but you got to know what that psychology is per episode or per anything that you're going after. If you're going to go after learning how to fly an airplane, you've got to have the psychology for flying an airplane. If you're going to go after making a lot of money, you've got to have that. So it's not. It can be broad strokes, but you need to individualize it as well. Psychology is number one. It's 60%. The next is energy. And energy, we talked about that earlier, but it's not, and it's two folds of energy. One is the energy to go after what you want. You can have all the plans, you can have everything that you know you should do. People who want to lose weight, they know how to lose weight. They got a plan for losing weight. But they don't lose weight because they don't have the energy to do it, and they don't have the psychology to do it. And so that's the second thing is to get the correct energy. But so that's energetic being able to get up early, do all that stuff is one part of energy. But the next piece, the other 20%, is attractiveness energy. So it's 60% psychology, 20% physical energy, 20% attractiveness energy. And what that means is this: when you have energy, you literally put off an electromagnetic field. This is science. Mm-hmm. And that electromagnetic field can be felt by other people, and as cosmic as it sounds, other objects. And two things happen. I'll prove it to you, to everybody listening. We've all had that experience where you feel somebody looking at you.
Yep.
You're in your car and you look over and they're looking at you. Or vice versa. You're looking at somebody else and they feel you looking at them and they look over and they catch you. It's because your energy, when you put your attention and intention on somebody else, your energy grows, they feel it, their energy grows, and you're drawn towards each other. So with that model in mind, whether it's people, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, you get your psychology together, you get your energy together, and you get your attractive energy together, and it's a system, it's a process. Then you cause two things. Number one, whatever you want to be drawn towards you, but here's the thing that they don't talk about, with the secret and the laws of attraction, is it makes you drawn towards what you want. So it turns into a loop. You now have the energy, the enthusiasm, the urgency to get up early, to stay up late, to do all that stuff, which makes you feel differently, which makes you think differently, which makes you attract more, which makes you feel, think, and it just around, and you build this thing up. So with the A factor, what we do is teach that process. And literally in that workshop, people it's amazing. I teach them the process, we do it, and I won't break down the whole workshop, but it's amazing. People come back the next day and go, I can't believe this. I've been waiting for this to happen for 6 months and it just happened. Now, I don't promise that these things will happen, but it definitely stacks the deck in your favor. And again, lastly, is that everything that I do is a system and a process, from whether I'm on stage the way that I do it, whether I'm trying to get somebody over a fear or a phobia, or whether I'm helping somebody lose weight or helping somebody win an Oscar or whatever it is, it's all a system. And if you do the system, just like in the very beginning when I told you, I read the book and I did the exercises. So if you do, then you'll get. If you don't, you'll regret. I just made that up.
Really?
If you do, then you'll get. If you don't, you'll regret. I gotta write that down.
Write it down, sir. Put it on a t-shirt.
That was brilliant.
You were in the zone. Wow.
That's gonna be my quote when I get off the call here.
I love it. And then you can say, I was talking to Carolina when I came up with it.
Exactly.
Amazing. Amazing to have witnessed that.
Done. Yes, you just witnessed magic, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, as silly as this sounds, that's the example of what I just talked about. As you can tell, I got a lot of energy right now, okay? And so when you do, you literally link yourself into the infinite intelligence or God's grace or whatever you do, and stuff flows through you. And so it's all a system. At the risk of sounding arrogant, I didn't come to this call going, okay, what am I going to talk to Carolina about? I came to this call, I prepared myself to be the way that I am, and I have this default. So the interaction that we're having it comes to life because of your energy and my energy. And now, those of you that are out there listening, it's your turn.
I love the cheeky smile.
Yeah.
Wow. Joseph, I am so incredibly grateful for your time today, for all your wisdom. I have no words.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And again, thank you for trusting me with all your peeps.
Yes, I couldn't think of anyone else, to deliver this kind of content for the world. So thank you so much. Where can people learn more about your workshops, the A Factor, all of this stuff?
Yeah, you can visit me in two places. One is Instagram, as I said. I am Joseph McClendon. Three places. One is Facebook. Same thing, Joseph McClendon. And then the third is my website is called makeyourfate.com. Makeyourfate.com. And all my events are sold out right now. However, I'm going to start posting on some new dates here, probably in the next few weeks. But I'll put my calendar up for other things that I'm doing as well.
Outstanding. And are you any other plans to come to South America next year? Because you mentioned.
Yeah, I will be in Sao Paulo in December.
Yes.
Then I'll be in Rio and Ipanema.
Yes.
I think in March. I'll put the dates on my website.
Excellent. So those are not sold out yet.
Well, unfortunately, Sao Paulo might be a public event, but the other two are a private event. Companies hire me to bring them in.
Oh, that's
but
okay.
I'll put some more up. But I would love to come there and do more. I don't really have any promoters in that area of the globe yet.
I might be able to help.
There you go. Let's talk.
Let's talk, sir. Thank you so much again, and I look forward to see you again in person. I don't have a selfie with you, unfortunately. We'll take one
That's
someday.
what we have to do next time.
Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody listening or watching. Make sure you follow Joseph. I'm going to put all his details in the description so you can find him on Instagram. He's super friendly, and take advantage of the fact that he doesn't have 1 million followers yet, and he'll see you, and maybe he'll reply to you.
And like I said, go there within the next couple of days and get your New Year's evolution. It'll help you. It's
New Year's
free of
evolution.
charge. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Joseph. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.